we're going to talk about See Spray, kind of the facts, what it is, how the systems operate, where it has some benefits, and then just kind of talk through the different pieces of the systems and how they work and the different options that are also available. So to start us off, we want to first talk about what is See Spray. Wayne?
Yeah, absolutely. Wayne Will, product specialist here with C&B, focused on the application equipment, run around with See Spray and whatnot for the last few years here. So we're going to talk about everything Nate just mentioned. But just to kind of kick it off here, what we're taking a look at here on this first slide is basically what you would see with the naked eye here on the left picture. So if you can look at that, do you see any weeds? Do you see anything in that canopy? It's really hard to tell, right? When we're looking at the perspective of the See Spray camera system on the sprayer, it will be able to see, so you can see here the green area is the actual crop. These blue zones here are the actual weeds that it's going to target, right? And there's several different things we'll talk about, sensitivities and buffers and things like that we can change and fine tune in the machine to be able to target things better or ignore things. So just high level kind of the theory behind how the system works. We're taking basically different crop models that are loaded into the software system. It knows what a corn plant looks like, it knows what a soybean plant looks like, and it knows what cotton looks like, right? So those are the 3 compatible crops with this. Essentially, when you're spraying through the field, if you got it set to corn, it knows what a corn plant looks like. It says, this is corn, this is corn, this is corn, that's not corn. Whatever it may be, whether it's kochia, ragweed, velvet leaf, things like that, it's going to spray it because it's not the crop model that you're actually spraying in, right? Same thing for soybeans that we see in this picture here. So kind of our journey at C&B with the See Spray system. We've been around this for the last 4 years. We started back in 2022 with a limited production build demo machine. That was a See Spray Ultimate, a dual solution system and things like that. We were able to get around and demo that to different customers and to kind of showcase it at different events, things like that. Moving into 23, we were able to get 2 customers into these machines. We had 2 limited production build machines for those. We also had another demo machine. Same situation, we were able to get around and demo that to customers and showcase it. Up into 2024, last year we had up to 13 customers running these different machines, so whether that was See Spray Premium or Ultimate, and we'll talk about the differences here in a second. We also had 2 demo machines along with that last year. Just a testament to kind of being able to prove the system out, raising awareness around it, seeing the efficacy of the actual applications that these See Spray machines have made. We've been able to get over 70 customers into a See Spray machine. So whether that be See Spray Premium or Ultimate, and then we will have various demo machines this year just to kind of showcase it even more or bring it to events and things like that. But most of those machines that were sold for this last year were a See Spray Premium Performance Upgrade Kit. So just like the one you see behind you here, and we'll talk about what the compatibility is and how we can get that system. But that's just kind of the story that C&B and the journey that C&B's had with the See Spray system. So,
all right, so what See Spray is, when we talk about See Spray, there are different levels. There's different options that are out there. So whether you're a new buyer, might be interested in an upgrade someday, or in the market for used machines now or down the road, there are different systems that are out there and they each have different capabilities. So I want to talk through them real quick just to kind of level set with what they are. See Spray Select is kind of off on its own. It was the first See Spray technology that Deere released, and it is primarily for fallow or bare ground. It is going to do what they call a brown on green detection. So think of it on either bare dirt or on a kind of a summer fallow grass situation, being able to detect weeds on kind of that bare dirt scenario. Don't see a lot of it here. Obviously, the further west, the further more dry and arid climate you get to, we see a lot more of those systems. The main ones we'll talk about are going to be See Spray Premium and See Spray Ultimate. Like Wayne mentioned, the sprayer we have here is a See Spray Premium machine. What that means is it's basically a sprayer you can go out and traditionally broadcast. You can go apply anything you're used to spraying. Single tank on it. We use our steel boom, green boom like you see there. The added on this system is that we add the camera system that lets us go out and do a selective broadcast application, so a spot spray essentially. Using the camera system, we can either go broadcast or we can go do a selective spray. Going up to the Ultimate machine, this adds basically the capability of doing that selective spray, but we take our solution tank and we split it. and we can go out and broadcast at the same time as doing a selective spray. So it's got 1,600 gallon tank that would be divided and let you do 2 applications with 1 pass. This machine also does have a different style boom on it. It is a carbon fiber boom, a more robust version than ones that have been out there for a while. It is a truss style, so it's very similar in look as our steel boom, but made out of carbon fiber, which lightens it up a little bit, but the design also makes it as strong or stronger than our steel boom is. We'll get into some of the details here as we go. When we talk about the compatibility portions, jumping back into See Spray Premium, so our single tank solution, See Spray Premium can either be installed from the factory, 2018 and newer John Deere sprayers, does have to have ExactApply, the pulsing nozzle technology on it, which also can be added if a machine doesn't have it. 2018 and newer Deere sprayers, it can also come from the factory on Hagie sprayers as well. So newer Hagie machines also have this capability. We put these on steel boom sprayers, 120 foot, 100 foot, or this summer we'll be able to add it onto a 90 foot sprayer as well. And again, we can do that from the factory or upgrade it. We also have an upgraded boom track, so height control system on our booms. Traditionally, our boom track system has just looked at the ground, made adjustments when it sees a valley, a dip, or needs to bring the boom down. The Boom Track Pro 2.0 adds basically measurement systems on the machine and on the boom that watches the roll, similar to what other boom height control manufacturers use, but that does give us a lot more stability and predictive movement of the boom instead of just being reactive.
One thing to add to that as well, the Boom Track Pro 2, basically the brake for that would be any model year 2018 to 21 sprayer, because it's going to have Boom Track Pro. If you have a model year sprayer 22 or newer from the factory, it should have came with that Boom Track Pro 2, so just a compatibility standpoint there. So.
When we talk about See Spray, the one thing to keep in mind, because we're using camera systems to detect weeds while we're moving through the field, we need to make sure that those cameras have kind of as consistent as possible of a view. So there are some kind of operating parameters for the system to operate as accurately as possible. So a couple of those, we'll talk about some nozzle compatibility in a second. We do need to have a rate recommended 10 gallons per acre or greater. That is different than your typical broadcast, right? If I have a 1,200 gallon sprayer, doing 10 gallons an acre, you're going to get 120 acres or a little bit less before you need to fill. In this case, because we're doing a selective spray, we're talking 10 gallon per acre, basically your coverage rate within that small box that we're selectively spraying. So that's just to ensure we get good coverage, we maintain a proper pressure, and that we get a good, basically a proper kill on the weeds that we're trying to hit. Main two that we need to keep our eyes on is a boom height. So we need to maintain a minimum of 20 inches over top of any crop. That maintains basically that the cameras are able to see it. Most of our booms are only able to get about 24 inches at lowest, but as you go through dips and things, 20 inches is what we want to see to have the best possible accuracy. Speed, about 12 miles per hour max with See Spray Premium. See Spray Ultimate is a little bit faster, and we'll talk about that in just a second. We talk about the minimum crop height. So in this case, we're talking about spraying kind of the green on green. We're detecting weeds versus the crop and then making sure we target those weeds. So minimum crop height, V2 in the corn side of things, so it's large enough that the camera can detect that it is actually corn, which does align in almost every case when we're going out and doing our post applications. And then a max height for corn about 16 inches. Basically, we're talking pre-canopy to be able to get a really good view of the weed and of the crop to make a determination of what's what. Then row spacing, we recommend 30 inches. Obviously, we've got a lot of 20s and 22s. That's all capable. Just we obviously lose that as we canopy, so it's hard to make a blanket statement for everything. When we turn over to the soybean side of things, there is capability of spraying with the row and at an angle. So we can spray approved up to about a 30-degree angle off the row. And then again, the rates, the boom heights and speeds are all the same. Minimum crop height on soybeans would be V1, so we're talking very small at this point. And the weeds that we're able to hit Usually the minimum recommended weed size to hit is about 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch, maybe a little bit smaller from what we've seen out doing some testing. The row spacing, when we talk soybeans, 15-inch or greater spacing, we are able to go through the rows and do our detection with a very high level of accuracy. Dan?
All right, so See Spray Ultimate. We just talked a lot about See Spray Premium, which we can order from the factory or upgrade a machine from 2018 or newer. If we talk about See Spray Ultimate, it has to be ordered from the factory as a See Spray Ultimate machine. That is a twin solution system machine. So it's one tank split into two different solution systems. We can spray two products at once. It allows us to do a targeted spray, See Spray out of one tank, and a broadcast spray out of the other. Some scenarios would be fungicide and going after escaped water hemp. Or earlier in the season, we could do our pre-emerge on our corn and come back with a status to kill a weed that's escaped, if you will. With the See Spray Ultimate, we get that carbon fiber truss boom. We get Boom Track Pro Ultimate, as well as the boom is suspended differently. So those are the things that allow us to have that 15 mile an hour crop speed for See Spray versus 12 with the premium. Been a big difference as well as just spraying, that boom stays very level. If we talk about fallback mode or fail-safe modes in both sprayers, if we're above our crop height, if we're too low, if we're going too fast, our machine will go into a fallback mode, which would be to spray all of the crop with that section or part of the boom that's going too fast. So going to Boom Track Pro Ultimate or a See Spray Ultimate machine, we limit the risk of that happening more often. So we can talk about plumbing as well. Our See Spray Premium, the machine we talked about and the machine that's sitting behind us, is our regular solution system. Our nozzle body fed with one line where we can do recirc reclaim on it. We think of Boom Track Pro Ultimate, right? We have two solution systems. So we have two lines feeding every nozzle. Well, we can do everything with both solution systems that we could with a single solution system. We still have our recirculation of our product. We can still reclaim the product. We can still air purge our booms or pull our product back to our tank. So.
All right, so why See Spray? Ultimately, when we boil it down to some of the key points, what are the advantages of See Spray? There's obviously the headline stuff, and want to talk through a little bit of that. Number one thing for doing a selective spray is obviously the ability to reduce our chemical usage. Our chemicals aren't getting cheaper, and they're getting more complex. We need to use different modes of action to properly tackle the weed pressure that we have in our fields. So reducing our chemical usage and basically we're talking about appropriately spending the dollars and redistributing the dollars into chemical programs that make sense on an acre by acre basis. So we can obviously reduce our chemical usage by reducing it, might be 20%, might be 80%. It all depends on settings you have in the cab, how aggressive you want to be with settings and savings, and then how you want to utilize different chemistry programs on your farm. Other options that we have here, other benefits you see from the See Spray system is we do reduce our tendering. So if you think about every time you stop and fill, it takes what, 10, 20 minutes roughly to mix and load and get the machine running again. Usually that's time that the sprayer is sitting and idling. If you take 20 minutes per fill, you're sitting and filling 5 to 10 times a day depending on your outfit. That adds up into be a lot of depreciation and a lot of idle time that you wish you could have back when the storm clouds start rolling in or when the rain just doesn't stop. So we can get a little more efficient with our tendering. Flip side of that, the first couple times you're filling with See Spray, it does make this slightly more complicated because you might cover 120 acres, you might cover 250 acres on one fill. So it does take a little bit of a learning curve, but ultimately at the end of the day, once you start learning how your settings are and how aggressive your savings are, you can start to really figure out and get a better rhythm on what weed pressure is going to do to your tendering time. Instead of sitting at the 80 or the 100 acre mark to fill, you might be loading up, spraying a field, and then meet the tender at the next field or when you're coming back to the farm to fill. The other side of this then as well is reducing our chemical usage on a broadcast application also results in better crop health. Number one, there's sustainability gains. If you think about what might come down the line eventually from government regulations or consumer groups, having chemicals that we're using selectively on our fields obviously has better optics. More importantly to us right now, though, is this can result in better yields. When we look at a Beck's study that was done this last summer across all the Midwest, they saw a 3.3 to 4.2 bushel an acre yield advantage on soybeans using a selective spray application versus a broadcast. Same chemical program, just a See Spray versus broadcast. There's obviously a lot that goes into that, the chemistries that you're using, how aggressive you are, and so forth. But by not forcing the entire crop to metabolize all the chemical you're spraying and only placing it where it needs it, there is potential to gain a little bit yield back on the crop as we go.
Absolutely, thanks Nate. So let's talk about what makes the See Spray system work, right? So what's the hard iron side behind it, mixed in with all the software with it, right? So kind of the brains behind See Spray is what we call a vision processing unit. So essentially this is where all the camera feed information is fed into to be able to command the sprayer to turn on and turn off nozzles based upon inputs that it, whatever weed is coming in front of that camera, right? So essentially, See Spray Premium, we're going to have 6 VPUs or vision processing units across the boom, and you'll see those on the boom if you take a look at that sprayer behind us here. There will be 1 lead VPU or vision processing unit per machine, right? So essentially all the other vision processing units give all their information to the lead one, and that is the bridge between the See Spray system and the exact apply system, which tells the nozzles to turn on and off, right? 10 total VPUs on a See Spray Ultimate machine versus the 6 on the Premium. You can go ahead. And what's being fed into that is the camera feed, right? So across the boom, you'll see these brackets above the boom. Each one of those brackets houses one of the basically the vision cameras for the system. This is your 3D rendering of what the camera looks like. But essentially, these are looking about 2 or 3 feet in front of the boom, and they're looking down so that it scans whatever's coming to the boom before it gets there. This will be scanning 2,200, 2,300 square feet per second as you're going about 12 miles an hour through the field. So a lot of information being processed, and these all communicate via Ethernet with the VPUs and so on. So that's kind of the hardware of the system. That's what makes it work. There's a lot of software behind it as well. But another piece of that is our nozzle body. So the foundational piece of the See Spray system is the exact apply nozzle body, right? So if we take a look at this, we need to understand the anatomy of the nozzle body itself. If we're going to be spraying with the See Spray system, we have to have a rearward inclined nozzle facing backwards on the rear portion of the turret, right? So in position 4, 5, or 6 on the turret, you have to have what we call an inclined nozzle facing backwards on that position on the turret. So whether that be this adapter cap, so we've taken an ultra low drift nozzle tip and we put it into this rearward incline cap. You can order these basically all as one unit pre-assembled. Otherwise, we can use a 3D nozzle which has a 38-degree incline built into it already as a See Spray approved nozzle. But they have to be on either 4, 5, or 6. When we're talking about broadcast, you can use either or, right? You're not necessarily limited to just using the front, but typically our front is going to be the broadcast in the See Spray scenario. So go ahead to the next slide. So just to give you an idea, the set of approved nozzles for See Spray, very important to have the right nozzle, right? And you have to have the part number of the nozzle, and you have to tell the screen in your machine what type of nozzle it is, because all the characteristics of each nozzle are built into the software system. So it knows how wide the fan angle is, it knows what droplet sizes are going to be put out at what pressures, right? So it tells the system how it'll operate based upon the type of nozzle you have inputted into the display. So as we take a look at this graph here on the left side, we start with our 60-degree fan angles. If you go further to the right, our fan angle increases, right? So all the way over here on the far right side, we've got our low drift max nozzle. That's going to be 120-degree fan angle. When we're talking that cross row travel, we want to start at 100 degrees and then go greater than that, right, to help with our coverage. So that's what the approved set of nozzles for cross row travel and soybeans would be, 100 degrees or wider on our fan angle, just to help with that shading that can happen, or we call it monocular occlusion, essentially. Basically weeds that are hiding behind a crop row, it has a better chance of killing that. But Typically you'll see better savings, chemical savings, the narrower the nozzle, the narrower the fan angle, because less nozzles will turn on to target a specific area, right? The wider your fan angle gets, typically the more nozzles will turn on to get the proper amount of coverage or overlap, depending on where the weed is in the field, right? So go ahead to the next one there. So Nate's got a nozzle pocket guide there, but essentially anything that we've talked about here is in this guide here. So if you're running a See Spray sprayer, there's a lot of good information even if you're not running a See Spray sprayer. If you want to scan this code with your phone, otherwise you can grab a hard copy here too. But anything that we covered as far as nozzles goes, there's a lot of See Spray setup and whatnot in here as well. But these are really handy little guides to have, and they're pocket guides, so you can actually you can put it in your pocket there. So
Perfect. As we look at basically what the system entails, we talk a lot of it can do this, but only then, and only if you have this system. Biggest thing I want to boil it down to is what's the experience like in the cab, and it's really, really simple in comparison to kind of the complexities and requirements that we've talked about. Operating in the machine, we can see our map like we typically see our broadcast map. Notice that we get our colors here where the nozzles have turned on, and it shows kind of this gray coverage where we've actually looked at the field and determined there's not weeds there. So it creates a coverage map, but then it also has an as-applied map that goes with it. The opposite side of that is we can also, in the background, are generating weed pressure maps. So if you think about looking at your spray maps from last year, if you had drownouts and you're trying to tackle that with post-emerge applications, we can look back and see what our weed pressure was, which can help make some determinations on chemical program for the coming year. Similar, looking at a See Spray premium machine, what the in-cab experience looks like. Very similar layouts and screens available as you would see with an exact apply machine. In this case, we've added one box here in the middle, and this is customizable, but I can set how large and how aggressive of a spray box I want to create around that weed. And again, you can change that aggressiveness based on if you want to make sure you hit everything or if you want to be more aggressive on your savings. That's all something you can change on the fly. We've also added a few options for buttons down along the bottom bar that can let you toggle from See Spray to broadcast down there at the bottom with one touch, or bring up the See Spray menu, which essentially you tell it what crop you're in, and the same sensitivity settings we look at here. And that's really about all there is to it outside of selecting the nozzles like Wayne mentioned.
absolutely. So what we're going to see in the operations center from a field analyzer standpoint is this map here when we're doing See Spray. This is an application map from a See Spray pass through the field. In this scenario, we had 111 acres total area covered, not necessarily applied. So as we take a look at the area applied, that was only just over 31 acres, right? It's about 32 acres of actually applied product to that 111 acre field. If we take a look at one of the big areas that growers are going to look for with this field analyzer map is this total savings area, and that in the field analyzer, when we pull up our application map, this will all be generated, right? You'll be able to pull this up. You'll also be able to pull this up on your phone and on your desktop. But essentially, with this particular application, the grower saved 77.7% on the product usage, right? So when you add that or you extrapolate that over, say this customer had 10 in the fields that were 110 acres, right? That can really add up to some serious dollars and cents as far as product savings goes. So go ahead.
The other thing to think about as we go into this, like a lot of our examples will have a lower chemical cost. In a lot of these scenarios, like we try to always only use the dollars we need to cover our whole farm, right? So if we think of See Spray, it's going to also help us utilize maybe more effective chemistry in certain farms, right? You think of your toughest farm for weeds. Now you can use that $15, $20 an acre chemistry and not be breaking the bank,
Absolutely.
allowing you to do so.
So kind of our just a snapshot of what we've seen just within C&B customers using the See Spray system last year. We had just over 60,000 acres total covered with the See Spray system. That's not necessarily applied, but they had the See Spray system turned on and they were going through the field looking for weeds, doing that targeted application. We saw an average savings of about 54% across that entire 60,000 acres. So just over half of all those acres was actually not applied, right, versus applied. So.
All right, we're going to bounce forward here. We're right at time. I want to make sure we cover a couple quick things here to wrap up. Deere does charge a license fee when we go out and use See Spray. So for starters, if I go out and I do a broadcast with my sprayer, that does not have any effect on license fees and per acre charges, all that. You can still use the sprayer in the traditional way that you have. Where the license fees come in is when you have See Spray enabled and you're going out and doing a spot spray type of application, either in the See Spray Premium or Ultimate settings. $5 per acre, and the way that works is you pay when See Spray is enabled, but it determines that there's no weeds and you don't spray. So you're either paying to apply the chemical or you're paying a small fee to basically reduce your cost and not pay the chemical side. So the way that the economics of this work essentially is if your chemical cost is higher than $5 an acre and you are able to save really anything, the license acre does have advantage over a broadcast application. So let's actually take a look at an example and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, for sure. So this example here from last year, we had a grower that had a 150 acre field. Their total chemical per acre was $15 per acre, right? We take a look at, we had a 1,200 gallon sprayer. Typically, if he was going to spray this conventionally, that particular product mix in that field was going to cost him just about $22.50, right? So $2,250. With See Spray turned on, in this particular case right here, he sprayed he covered the whole field, but See Spray did not turn on the sprayer for 75% of that field, right? So we only applied to about a quarter of that field. So total chemical cost was at that $15 an acre was $1,687.50 for total product cost. And then if you factor in that license unit cost at $5 at 112 acres that were not applied, that was $562.50. Total license unit cost for that 150 acre field. When you calculate all these numbers here, the total savings for that particular example was just over $1,100. So and again, extrapolate that out over several fields, several thousand acres, it can really add up. So.
All right, so kind of to wrap up here, a couple things to note. Where can we get See Spray? Talked about this a little bit ago. From the factory, we can get See Spray Ultimate on Deere machines. We can get the premium option on Deere or Hagie sprayers. And we can also upgrade and add See Spray Premium to machines that are out in the field, 2018 and newer. So if you have a machine or you're looking at ones, 18 and newer are the compatible ones, and we've got different pricing depending on the kits that you're interested in or want to learn more about. There are some additional things coming, anything from being able to see crop health and stand counts and targeting broadleaf versus grasses and some capabilities there that will be coming in the near future.